maybe practice how you would respond to a major disaster on the campus. So have a plan in place, and that's something that the administrative staff might want to work on. At least, okay, if something large happens, how would we respond to that? So make it doesn't have to be a complicated plan, but just a plan of how the school would respond to that. Where would be the kind of major rallying point? Where would all the students need to go to? Or should you just shelter in place? What's your major plan for that? Like even like a disaster. Do you guys have earthquakes or anything like that here?
Not here, but right now.
Okay, so do you have a basic kind of plan for a disaster, like how you would respond? You do. Okay. And so refer then to that disaster plan to develop a simple training scenario for the students on how you would respond, and that's a very good. The best way to be able to respond to something like that is to practice once or twice a year, just so that everybody has a chance to know, okay, this is how we would what we'd actually do in the event of something like that. And then for the people that are actually responsible initially for finding people on the ground that are injured, like if there's actually people that are hurt, I will tell you, if you walk up to a person and find them unresponsive, it's best to move to somebody else that's actually responsive, because in a disaster management scenario, people that are not responding are probably going to die, and so it's actually better to find the people that are responsive, and then get them to a place where, like in one area, so that the ambulance people will be able to take those people away. And you have to kind of get down to figure out, okay, well, who's the sickest? And if you see anybody actively bleeding, if you see active bleeding, you need to put something on that to stop the bleeding. Okay, so you can take off, use a tie or something, tie it, and then take a stick, and then start twisting it until the bleeding stops. That's how you would stop bleeding. Okay, or you could use a rope or something like that. For someone who's bleeding to death, the risk of losing the limb from you putting a tourniquet on is very, very, very low. The more likely scenario is they would bleed to death long before they would ever lose their limb. So it's best to put a tourniquet on and just stop the bleeding. And you know that the tourniquet is tight enough if there's no bleeding. You completely stop the bleeding. And just keep, it's going to hurt them, it's going to hurt their arm. And you want to at least, let's say the bleeding is here, you want to put the tourniquet at least 2 inches above the bleeding, okay? At least 2 inches proximal to the bleeding, okay? And if there's bleeding that's somewhere that is not, that you can't put a tourniquet on, like up here or like around here, then you're going to put direct pressure on that area and try to stop the bleeding by applying direct pressure. Okay, so those are the two major ways to stop bleeding. Yeah, and when I say a fist, I mean you might have to actually push hard, like on that to compress it. Okay, and then the other places that you can bleed, you won't be able to get to, and that will be in the chest and in the abdomen. There's nothing you, as a layperson, would be able to do about that until the EMS responders came and assessed the bleeding. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions that we might be able to answer for you related to how you might respond to something like that? Okay. Well, we thank you very much. My team and I would like to just thank you for the opportunity. Your hospitality was amazing. The meal that we had was just amazing. Thank you so much for the nice meal.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Actually, that's good. And we look forward to the rest of the afternoon with whatever we're going to be doing. And thank you so much for your participation today. I think we have some certificates for the participants. If you were one of the participants today, we'll be handing these out. I think he's still